I'm here.
Okay, Mr. Robinson. I'm here with one of the attorneys in my office, Ms. Diane O'Brien Holcomb, and she'll be conducting the conference with me, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Good afternoon. Hello.
How you doing?
Okay, how are you?
I'm fine.
Okay. Now, if you can hold on, I will connect us with the secretary's attorney, okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Sorry about that.
Mm-hmm. Ms. Sophie? Yes. Okay, I'm here with Mr. Robinson. Okay. Okay, the purpose of this conference is to try to resolve any dispute regarding the record before the agency. The court is only allowed to look at the same record that was before the board. If there are any documents missing from the record that were before the board when they made this decision, or if there are any documents that should have constructively been before the board, that's what we want to try to resolve. If the only dispute is that the board misinterpreted the record or failed to consider something in the record, we are not here to discuss that at this time. Okay, now with that said, Mr. Robinson, in your multiple disputes, you state that there were several documents missing from the record. And the secretary in his over the response gave you locations of the documents that were stated were missing. Were you able to go to that list?
Yes, I went to the list.
Mm-hmm.
And I found some. I still found some missing, but there's one document that I found that has been spoliated.
Okay, now from the secretary's response, did you, because she laid out the page numbers as to where everything was located?
Yes, that's well, that there, I was preparing my brief on the 9th of November. And I discovered the letter that my former attorney sent to the regional office in New York concerning a fraudulent compensation and pension examination.
Right. No, I'm sorry. I understand that. But what I want to do, first of all, is make sure what the secretary laid out for you, that you do not still have a dispute with that. And then we'll
No, I don't have no dispute with that. My dispute is with the recent issue.
Okay. Okay. Right. And you're speaking regarding the January 3rd, 2014 letter?
No, it's August 25th, 2012. Letter to the regional office in New York about the fraudulent comp and pen examination.
Right. And this is the letter that only has one copy in the RBA?
No, it has several copies in the RBA. Because it has copies I sent to my representatives and that I sent it to the regional office and to the BVA. But one document is it has the last paragraph on page 5 that's been spoliated.
Okay.
It's in my notice.
Okay. Just to clarify, so you're referring to an August 25th, 2012 letter from the RO?
Yes, ma'am. To the RO.
To the RO.
Yes.
Did you, so you're saying that you found it in the RBA or you did not?
I found it in the RBA.
Something you found that was docketed on November 12th. Okay, so it's in the RBA, we're asking. It's in the RBA, so that's not a problem, is that right?
It's a problem because it's spoliation, and it's a part of the RBA. Hold on one second. Let me get the notice out of my file cabinet.
It's what he submitted that was docketed on November 12th. That he says that there's 2 copies of a letter that was sent to the regional office, and he says that one of them is altered in the record.
Okay, because I'm looking at what he submitted.
He did submit this. It's just different than what you're looking at. It's more recent.
Okay.
So he submitted it to the court? Yeah, it's on the docket, docketed November 12th, 2015.
unprinted.
Okay. It says it's received, but
Right.
I mean, I'm looking at it on my computer right now.
Okay. I apologize for the noise. I'm printing it off.
The document, I'm trying to pull up my notice that I sent to the court, referring to it. I'm coming to it in 1 second. All right. On the RBA, page 52 to 56, is a complete copy of that letter.
Okay.
August 25th, 2012. On page 857 to 861, the last paragraph of the same letter has been altered.
Okay, so a complete record that wasn't altered, as you're saying, is in the record.
Yes.
Okay, so any argument you can make in your brief regarding whether you think the impact of any alteration, you can make that in your brief. As long as what we're here today is to make sure all the records that you want to refer to in your brief are in the RBA that should be there.
Ma'am, are you aware of Title 18, Section 4, misprision of felony? My obligation is to point this to the court and to the general counsel. Y'all's obligation is to report it and have it investigated.
Okay, well, what we're here today is we're going to limit today's conversation to making sure what records, that any records that are in the RBA that are supposed to be there are there.
They're there, but there's been a crime committed. A senator, if you look at the fax cover before, a few pages before, around 1851, a senator, Kirsten Gillibrand, sent that I sent it completely to her office. She sent it to the regional office. This has implications of widespread. Someone doctored that document.
So, well, that's an issue for another day. What we're dealing with today is to make sure the RBA has all the records in it that it is supposed to have. So, since you said that the August 25th, 2012 document is in the RBA, let's move on to another document. Are there any other documents that
I haven't gone through this thing because this RBA disk is in disarray. It would take me, really, to be honest with you, probably a year to go through it properly and match letters the way I sent them in. It's in complete disarray, and that's purposely done by the BVA. That's terrible. And the thing about it, on September 6th, I filed the original dispute pertaining to that.
Mr. Robinson?
This puts me behind the 8 ball.
Mr. Robinson, unfortunately, there is no sequence to the RBA. The RBA is built up as how you file, your documents, your medical records. There is not going to be in date sequence. So that's really not a dispute.
Ms. Nicholson, it's a dispute because it's purposely done.
No, sir, it's not.
It's a dispute because that letter was purposely altered.
Okay, Miss.
Okay, that argument is for a different day. Today, we just want to make sure that the records that you identified in your September filing, you identified various documents that you had originally said were not in the RBA, and
yes.
Now, so today we're going to just focus on those documents that you told the court were not in the RBA to make sure that.
Let me ask you a question. Since you're coming at me that way, why no one called me about my original dispute to have this conference pertaining to my motion on September 6, 2015? But you calling me now pertaining to this spoliated document. Understand that there's liability here.
Okay.
Huge liability. Because it appears to me the court wants to move forward and don't want to deal with a criminal act.
Well, this court we're dealing dealing with the merits of your disability claim. We're not dealing with criminal matters.
Now, my record is loaded with criminal acts, and the court does not want. It appears that it's not trying to look at it. This ain't the first time. This case case was remanded September 5th, 2005. That's almost 4,000 days ago. And during that period, nothing but criminal acts before then and after. I'm at a disadvantage. Where's my rights being protected? My due process rights. They're being deprived.
Okay. I understand your frustration, but we can't go off on merits arguments based on due process and criminal acts. This conference today is discussing whether all the documents are in the RBA that need to be there.
I don't know which. I haven't finished going through the RBA. It's in that terrible shape that it's going to take me a long time to do so.
Okay. Well,
it's terrible. It's ridiculous.
Mr. Robinson, do you have Secretary's latest filing in this case, the October 5th, 2015 filing? Do you have that in front of you?
Yes, I do.
Okay, can we turn to page 2?
Hold on one second. This don't make any sense.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. October 1st, right?
Let's see. October. Ms. Yohikwa, do you have the date of your filing?
The response to my filing, right?
October 5th.
October the 5th. Yeah, it was filed October 5th. Okay. So, Mr. Robinson, do you have the October 5th document?
Hold on one second.
Okay.
Hold me 1 second.
One more.
Oh, boy. I'm trying to find it. Hold on one second.
Okay.
What is this thing? You saying October 5th?
Yes. October 5th, 2015. It's titled Secretary's Response to the Court's Order dated October 1st regarding an RBA.
Yeah, I got it.
Got it? Okay, great. Okay, so what we're here today is to talk about the documents that the Secretary identifies on page 2 in response to your September motion. Okay, do you see page 2?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so the first document is that May 14, 2015 Civil Rights Discrimination Complaint.
Yes.
Okay, now that's not in the record because it was filed after the
Ma'am.
board issued.
What's your name again?
Oh, I'm Diane. O'Brien Holcomb.
Miss Holcomb, I understand everything you're saying in reference to that, but really, what really confuses me and surprises me is that from the date of October 5th, I haven't gotten this call until November. I filed the notice informing the court about the spoliated document. Why?
Well, I mean, this is the first opportunity we should have to schedule this conference.
No one that I should have been notified long time ago about this, not after the fact of my notification to the court about a spoliated altered official record.
Okay,
That's confusing to me.
Okay, well,
This is 23 years of my life.
okay, well, your arguments that you are making about that August 2012 record as being altered, that's an argument you can put in your brief, okay, on the merits, which you're not going to file yet until we get this record dispute fixed. Okay?
Yes, I understand that.
Okay, so let's look at the documents referred to on page 2 of the Secretary's response. Okay? We will need to go through each one of these to see if you're still disputing these. And if you're not, then we can move along the case so that you can file your brief. So the first document is that May 14, 2015 civil rights discrimination complaint. You wanted that to be in the record.
Yes.
But with the court rules, the court has rules that it has to follow, and the court can't have in the record anything that's prior to the board decision, because we're reviewing the board decision. So it was records and documents that were before the board. So this document post-dates the board decision, so that's why it cannot come into the record.
Understandable.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on to number 2. Number 2, the Secretary has stated that it was found in the record at page 254 to 256. That's the May 10th, 2012 letter from the board. So that was found. So I believe there's no dispute as to that anymore. Is that correct?
No problem.
Okay. All right, now the third one, that's the Pounce letter to Mr. Stephen Keller. Secretary found that in the record at page 1530. So, do you agree there's no problem now with that letter?
If it's there, it's there. I haven't checked to see if it was there, but no problem.
Okay, great. Okay, the fourth item, the Pounce letter to the Congressman, found at pages 1169 to 70. So, and 1185. So, since that's found in the record, it'll be in the record before the court. So, do you have a problem with that anymore?
No, ma'am.
Okay, great. All right, now the fifth one is the supplemental statement of the case, dated June 15, 1994. That was found at the record at 596-064. So, no dispute as to that, is that right?
What number is that again?
Oh, number 5?
No problem.
Okay, great. How about number 6? Supplemental statement of the case found in the record at 5932.
I don't have any problem with all of that because I have not searched for any of those documents after the motion to dispute, due to the fact that in the response I got, what choice do I have?
Right, well, the main thing is that they're in the record. That's what we're focusing on. That these documents are in the record that the court will see when it looks at the merits of your appeal. Okay?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, now number 7 is the letter from the RO from the dated January 3rd, 2014. The first page of that letter is in the record at 444. There apparently is additional pages that are not in the record for that letter. And so at this point, the Secretary is arguing that it's not relevant to include it.
It is relevant because it's a VA form 10-0381, a civil rights discrimination complaint. So it's very much relevant.
Okay, we're talking about the January 3rd, 2014 letter.
Yes, ma'am.
From the RO. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so, Ms. Shopek, you had said that it wasn't relevant, the rest of that letter. Is it that you cannot find the rest of that letter?
The letter, the page that's in there, it appears, I believe it was part of a fax that was sent in by Mr. Robinson, I believe, or somebody. It was sent in, yes, it was sent in by Mr. Robinson to the board, and he sent in just page 1 of that letter, and I looked through the record, and I didn't see, both the RBA and I have his physical paper file here. I looked in that too, and did not see the entirety of this letter anywhere.
Okay, did you contact the RO to see if they had the rest of that letter?
I did not, because I didn't see how it was relevant.
Okay, well, if you, that letter does refer to the status of the hypertension claim.
But his appeal currently has to do with the ratings, not with the effective date, and this is laying out a review of when he has put in various appeals, and then, it's not talking about anything having to do with his rating.
Does it have to do with his claim regarding hypertension, though?
It has to do with it. He had asked for a status, and this is a response to what the status of his case was.
Okay, wait. Mr. Robinson, do you have the rest of that letter in your possession?
I'm pretty sure I do, but I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, is the secretary opposed if he has the rest of that letter to have him submitted to be part of the record?
I mean, we would have to look at it, but
okay,
if he has it, he can submit it.
Okay.
My question, what happened to it?
I don't have an answer to that.
Well,
You don't have a lot of answers to a lot of things pertaining to this 23-year-old case.
okay, well, we want to try and move this case forward.
Yeah,
So,
we
Mr.
do,
Robinson,
but y'all can't just keep overriding my due process rights
okay,
and
well,
spoliating documents, removing documents, according to 18 USC Section 2071. That's a crime.
Mr.
And there's
Robinson,
many of them in here. Let that be on the record.
okay, Mr. Robinson, if you could locate the rest of that letter that's from the RO, if you could, we'll issue an order and have you submit it so that it could be looked at to see if we can include it as part of the record. Does that sound fine?
I have no choice.
Okay.
I'll do the best I can to find it.
Okay. Okay, then let's move on to item number 8, which was the secretary apologized for including in the record a document from another veteran and will issue a new RBA that doesn't include that document. So I think that satisfies that issue. Is that right, Mr. Robinson?
Yeah, that's not the first time that happened in my case.
Right.
Before, years back, they did a story on CBS News where another veteran's bank statements was in my file in 2011. 2009.
Okay, well, we're trying to make sure that just the documents related to you are in this file. So the secretary agrees, and we'll issue a new RBA that doesn't have this veteran's document in it. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, and then we already talked about the item number 9, which was the fact that the RBA is out of sequence, and that a lot of that has to do with the claims file is when documents are submitted, documents might be dated, years prior. So
So it's going to get out of sequence because it's based on when it's actually submitted to VA. So there's nothing we can do about the sequence of those documents. So, okay, so we've gone through all of the items that you had based your motion for the record dispute on.
Number 9, I disagree with the conclusion that you're saying there's nothing because of the history of poor record keeping. I disagree with that.
Well, it's a matter of how when documents are submitted to VA, they're put into the claims file, and they might be dated years prior because they're older records that are just being submitted to VA. It's the first time they're getting the document. So it's going to happen that they get out of order as far as date.
I just said I disagree because of poor record keeping.
Okay, well...
With the whole thing, really. No, it's very unprofessional and unethical the way records are kept. I got proof.
Well, I can appreciate your frustration, especially when the files get very big. It's hard to, follow everything. But as far as, the court and what we're here today to resolve, we're focusing on whether the record is complete. So whether all the documents are in the record. And so we've gone through all these documents. The only one that we're looking at is the number 7, the letter from the RO, which you said you may be able to find, and we'll give you a time within which to then submit it to the secretary and to the court, and then we'll make a determination, recommendation, whether that should be included in the RVA. So, with everything that's been said, does that now cover everything?
Everything is fine with me. One question. If I'm not able to locate that letter January 3rd, 2014, you said you'll make a recommendation whether it should be available?
Well, I want to hear from Secretary's Counsel again whether it's possible to contact the New York RO to see if they have that letter in their system, since it's a letter from that RO.
We can try.
Okay, that would be great. So we'll include that in our order for turnaround time for both Mr. Robinson and for Secretary Counsel to get back to the court regarding the results of their efforts to find that page 2 of that letter. Okay?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then
Yes,
then we'll
ma'am.
go from there. Okay. So then we'll go from there after that. That's what will happen. We'll issue the order, give you time to respond, and then we'll see where we are. And we may need another conference, or maybe it'll then be resolved, depending on what's submitted. Okay, sound good?
I have no choice.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll conclude. I'll turn it back over to Wendy to conclude the conference.
Okay, well, like I said, I'll issue orders. I've given you both time to locate the documents if you can. And in that order, Ms. Chilton, I will ask that you will let me know if the RVA will be amended or not.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm. Well, either way, we'll amend it eventually because we'll issue one without the other veterans' documents in it. But
Okay.
I'll let you know regarding this document too.
Right. Okay. So other than that, I thank you all for the conference.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Okay. Take care.